How we doing, Patriot fans? Welcome to this week's episode of the PrimeTime Patriots podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jake Mon. Alongside me is Ryan Matson, covering what was considered by many to be the most hyped regular season football game of all time. And it wasn't what either of us expected. I'll let
Definitely
you go first.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be an absolute, kind of a shootout, but in terms of the Bucs just laying some points down. Patriots played very well, I thought. Defensively, didn't allow a passing touchdown, which is a very good stat against Tom Brady. And offensively, I thought we played really well.
Absolutely. I would agree with that, too. This one hurt really bad.
Because we had it.
We really did. We'll get into the decisions right after this, but I originally put that I would have traded a Super Bowl ring for this. I go back on that, but it speaks to what I felt like. I wrote these notes right after the game, so right after this game, it just felt so bad, man.
It was bad.
We were right there, and the bragging rights that would have came along with beating Brady with a juiced roster.
Yeah.
Everything except his secondary is a great unit, and you were that close. Very close.
I literally right after the game went in my bed and just laid there for an hour, just what the fuck.
Yeah. It was awful. It was awful. So, anyways, to get into the big discussion, the decision on 4th and 3 to kick, obviously. That's the career long for Nick Folk. Wasn't great conditions. He had enough leg on it. Hits the left crossbar. That ends up being the game. You like the decision a little more than me. I'll let you go first.
All right. In that situation, I like it. 4th and 3, they had a chance on that third down right before. Got tipped at the line. Wide open receiver. But, if you're going for it on 4th and 3, you're just looking to get a solid 5 yards. They're going to play up. I didn't really like going for it there. I'd rather try and get the points at 3. It was a tough kick in the pouring rain, obviously. 56 yards deep, tying his career long. I didn't hate it, but I understand the point made that if Brady gets the ball back with 56 seconds left, game's pretty much over anyway. So
yeah,
I understand both of it, but I don't know.
Yeah, my biggest thing, I didn't love the call. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. I would have went, obviously hindsight's 20/20, but even when we sent Folk out there, I'm we're going to make him try out his career long in some crappy weather. Already been a missed field goal by the other kicker earlier in the game. Conditions aren't great. And part of it, too, is you played it safe right before halftime, and you punted it away on a 4th and short. And Brady drove down right before half and put 3 on the board.
That's true.
So you've already been playing conservatively. I would have just said, and the main point, like you said, was the fact that Brady was going to get the ball back with a field goal to win it in 50 seconds.
I'm putting money on Brady in that situation. So,
absolutely,
like you said, I definitely do agree with that. But the decision I didn't think was horrible.
No, I don't think it is. Especially, we can't forget, too, that Nick Folk has been money this whole season. That's his first missed field goal.
Yeah.
The guy's been hitting everything you've put in front of him, so you put him out there to try to make a play. Really is just that Brady thing for me. He's, Nick Folk he's 27 of 45 from 50 plus. So that's 60%. I would say you could call it 50-50 with the rain. I think you just take a shot there with your offense to make this the last drive of the game, and then you're going to finish with points. I really do think that game's over, even if you hit it. I think Brady's going to drive down and get 3.
Yeah. I think, one thing that I saw on ESPN the other day, a lot of people were debating on whether they should have went or not, and, some guy, I don't remember who it was, but he brought up the point where if they went for it, or not even went for it, if that kick was made, obviously they would have went up 20-19, or was it?
Yeah, 2019. Yep.
So they would have went up 20-19, and then with just about 50 seconds left, Belichick wanted this matchup to be about his defense and Brady, and his defense was playing very well against Brady the whole night.
I'll agree with you there. Yeah,
Brady was 22 for 43, so not very accurate performance out of him.
No, I think he had a very, especially early on, he was overthrowing people.
Yeah,
it looked like he was very yippy.
He was.
Yeah.
And so what they were saying was, in that situation, that would have been the best moment to determine that Brady-Belichick comparison of who.
I like that idea.
I did. I
so
thought
it's
that was
an all-in
interesting,
move by Belichick. Because, all right, I will agree, definitely. If you hit that field goal.
So he was betting on his defense. And Yeah.
If you do hit that field goal and you go up and then you win the game by stuffing Brady with 50 seconds, of course. I would agree that is a more definitive win than your offense doing it with Brady on the sideline. You go, we beat Brady. He even had a shot at the end.
Yeah.
And we beat Brady. But I bet against Brady last year in the Super Bowl and I lost money. It's just, I would never put him in that situation to let him try to beat you. I'd take him out of the equation.
Yeah.
And just try to go for it.
Fair
If you
enough.
don't get it, you don't get it. You lose the game, but fortunately, you lost the game anyway. So, I want to touch, I thought there were three huge plays, obviously a bunch in this game, but three that stood out to me was, first, the J.J. Taylor fumble. He caught a swing pass, and then normally, sometimes you can see guys getting held up by multiple defenders. Other people are prying at the ball. Somebody gets a good punch. This wasn't it. He was just running with the ball. Somebody makes a regular form tackle.
And it just pops out.
Ball goes flying. Can't have it. The Slater penalty, which I do think was a penalty.
It was.
Is it very close to what Slater does quite often and a lot of special teamers do? Sure, but it was egregious. He ran out for a long time.
Yeah, he was there for.
So I don't dislike the call, but nonetheless, it's a huge play because that was a fumble that was at the 20.
That would have set up very good field position for the offense.
Absolutely. And then the last one that stood out to me was the penalty on Kyle Van Noy on Leonard Fournette down the sideline. That was on the Bucs' last drive. You just needed to hold them. In first play, they pick up 35, 40 yards on a free play because Kyle Van Noy gets the PI. So, and I think there was a stat, I can't remember the exact proportions or the exact percentages, but the win chance for the Bucs went from 30, I'm ballparking it, but 30 to 60 after that one play. It just puts them in the driver's seat.
Yeah, it does.
So it's a huge play. And honestly, it's not a play, but this is the worst stat. We've talked a little bit about it. It's the worst stat.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Bar none. It's the worst stat I've ever heard in my entire life. 8 rushes, the New England Patriots.
I have it right here.
For -1 yard. Your only positive rush in the entire game was Nelson Aguilar on an end around for 4 yards.
Yep. That is horrific. I mean, you only rushed Harris 4 times. Mm-hmm. -4 yards.
And let's not get it wrong here. Is the Bucs front seven very good? Yes.
Absolutely.
And was the Bucs secondary at a all-time low? Literally had Richard Sherman out there they signed in the middle of the week. So yes,
the street.
Yeah, exactly. I understand the game plan and I understand the attack. You can't win a football game. You can't expect to win.
Negative rushing yards.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's not like they had 40 or they had 30. They had a tough day on the ground. You had negative yards, and this line is
atrocious.
It's the biggest problem, not even close, for this team right now.
Bad.
And before we get more specifically into them, just to touch on it, because we've touched on it every week, I now think if Sony Michel's on the team, you might be 3-1, because Taylor might not even be in the game at that point. We got to remember too, Sony Michel has had however many touches in his career. Pretty sure, check me on that, it might be 2. Pretty sure 1 single fumble in his entire career.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those stats, but
yeah,
I know he hasn't fumbled the ball.
So he's got great ball security. I won't say definitively you're 3-1, but it would have helped you in this Bucs game, and you would have won against the Dolphins, because either Harris would have been able to rest way more and he wouldn't be gassed, or it would have been Michel himself running at the end of that game.
I agree.
So that just continues to age like a horrendous wine. It's very bad.
Going back to the line, they gave up 4 sacks against the Bucs, which, like we said, very good pass rush, very good rush defense, but you can't get, the line has been so bad this year. It's like a big problem.
Yeah, there were multiple holdings. They had that one period where there was 2 in a row on Micah Wenyu.
Yeah.
Who I think is our best all-around lineman.
I think he is.
And when you got your leader on the line going out there doing that, they had, on the last drive, they had the weird late snap where they didn't snap the ball, and they had ended up getting called on Hunter Henry. It wasn't his. Everybody went off sides.
The center just didn't snap the ball.
Because you didn't snap the ball, and then that turns a 2nd and 3 in the biggest drive of the game into a 2nd and 8.
Yep.
And now you're talking about you could have taken a shot, you could have tried anything on 2nd and 3. Now you're backed up 2nd and long. And then the next play, or on that same drive, I believe it was the next play, Isaiah Wynn clearly moves. And the refs miss it. Everybody on the Bucs is pointing at him. And it's just, even when these guys aren't getting called for things, it's obvious.
Yeah, it's not good.
They could not, I already said that, could not establish the run at all. It's just,
no.
I don't care who the front 7 is.
Dude, and the fact that you rush 8 times, I understand the defense. You got to establish some sort of run game.
Yeah.
Even if you're like if you're averaging like 1.5 yards, like you got to get, so like the play actions there, you need some sort of run game.
Yeah, we talk about that decision too, to go for it or to not go for it on 4th and 3. That's an impossible decision to make when you're completely one-dimensional as an offense. You can't even think about running it. You can't even think about faking the run. Why would they even respect anything?
Yeah.
It's just, you can't be that one-dimensional and expect to beat a team that was already having an off night. You had a chance to go at them, and you instead turned yourself into this one-system offense that just wasn't able to compete.
Yeah.
But moving to Mac, I think this was Mac's best overall game. He had one horrendous throw that didn't get picked. Yeah,
Devin
across
White.
his body.
Oof.
Yeah, that could have been nightmarish. I think that's...
And he had wide open Hunter Henry in the
Yes, I did know that too. But if we're going to say, at least he's consistent in missing the deep throw and checking it down.
Yeah, honestly, I thought he played very well.
Yeah.
Let's look at his stats.
He outplayed Brady. That's the thing. If we look at the stats, he threw 78%, damn near 80%. Brady threw 51 on 3 more passes.
Yep.
He threw for 6 more yards than Brady.
Yep.
2 touchdowns. An interception, which was like an arm punt.
It was off it was off the hands of Aguilar. I know the defender was right there.
Yeah, but Aguilar did grab it with both hands at one point.
You know what I mean?
So it wasn't totally his fault, and it was a 3rd and long where you're looking to pick up yards, and you just put it up there, and they pick it off. You were going to punt on the next play anyway.
Yep.
So it is an arm punt situation.
So, there's also one thing that I really want to say here. Mm-hmm. He had 19 straight completions, which is a rookie record.
Yep, rookie. That's incredible. He tied, that's the franchise record too.
Was it?
That tied Tom Brady.
That is insane. He had 9 incompletions the whole game.
Yeah, he really balled out. The only thing that Brady did beat him in was QBR. I know it's a very advanced stat that takes everything into account. Who's on your side, who's on the other side. So that's literally the only one. Passer rating, Mac beat him outright. 101 was Mac's and 70 for Brady. So he blew him out of the water there. And this is my favorite stat of the whole comparison between Brady and Mac for this week. Average yards per play. Mac, 6.9. Brady, 6.3. Because all we hear...
I see 7.6. Oh, that was... Yep, you're right.
Okay.
That's with Jacoby.
Yes, who balled out.
Yeah.
From the QB.
So speaking on QB Jacoby Myers here, 2 for 2, 45 yards, average 22.5.
Yeah, they pulled out the stops with the trick plays, especially that one to Aguilar. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
That was a great throw, right on the money. But I think it was Mac's game overall, mostly the pressure both outside from the media and everything going into this game, going up against Tom Brady, to the actual literal pressure that he was facing all game from his horrendous line. He just stepped up. He pushed the ball down the field, scored 2 touchdowns, and he finally, we've been waiting, has thrown it into the end zone. It happened. Twice, exactly.
Love to see that.
Exactly. So that was a big criticism. Again, maybe not the most eye-popping game or anything, but to step up and have as consistent and fluid of a game as you did in that big a stage, I think it's his best performance.
And going off that, emotions were flying high that whole entire game for Brady and Belichick. people don't realize how Mac has to be feeling during that game.
Exactly.
Dude, he's the replacement for Tom Brady.
Yeah, Mac's a year older than me, 3 older
as
than you.
As a rookie.
Yeah.
And he balls out.
Yep. He did everything he was supposed to. It's just tough. But now I think it's a good time to talk about this. Over the week, so Kendrick Bourne said after the game, there's obviously been comparisons everywhere. Kendrick Bourne said he looks like a baby Tom. So I said 4 games into their career, 4 starts. Let's see what it looks like. There's a couple things to notice. First big thing is that Tom Brady had a full year in the system.
Of development, yeah.
Of development, backed up a great quarterback in Drew Bledsoe.
Yep.
So spent time watching, understanding the offense, and got some time in that Jets game that Bledsoe got knocked out of. So I'm only looking at its games, regular season at least, 2 to 5 for Brady. Those were his first 4 starts, and these first for Mac. So Mac is ahead of him right now with 70 completion percentage. Yards per attempt, Brady has him beat. Touchdowns are actually the same, and this is interesting because there's been a lot of criticism for Mac for not pushing the ball down the field, not going into the end zone. They both have 5 touchdowns 4 games in. Interceptions, Mac has 4 and Brady has 0, but this is the second caveat. In Brady's 5th game, he goes and throws 4 picks and loses to Denver. So, assuming Mac doesn't turn it over next week, that's going to be even after the start as well.
And also, just throwing it out there, at least 2 of those picks aren't really on Mac.
Yes, yeah, that's what I said too. Mac's 4 picks have been really situational. I mean, the first one against New Orleans was 50-50, and I think it's still his technically worst pick.
Yeah.
It was the most on him. The Johnny one, we don't even got to talk about.
And then Aguilar is also another kind of 50-50 ball where...
Yeah, and I did go back and watch the third one that happened against the Saints. That was literally, it was 4th and 10 with 20 seconds left in the game.
He's just trying to...
Yeah, you're just trying to make a play. So if you want to hold that against a guy, you can. I personally don't. Not at all. And this is important because this totally tanked his QBR. And, all those picks definitely tanked that QBR. Or not the QBR, passer rating, my apologies. Brady's got a 95 through his first 4 starts, and Mac's at an 87. So if you look at those picks and understand they're more situational, I think the ratings are pretty damn close, pretty comparable. The sacks, they've both been sacked quite a bit. Mac's been sacked 10 times. Brady was sacked 8. And Mac's been sacked for more on average, but I think that could have a bit to do with shotgun now as well.
Yeah.
And then finally, to round it off, obviously the records. Tom was 3-1 in his first 4 starts, and Mac was 1-3. 2 one-possession, super close games, but a loss is a loss. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing there is the development, honestly. Like we thought Newton was going to be the starter week 1 going into the year. And, just developing throughout the first at least couple weeks definitely would have helped Mac, I believe. But obviously they thought Mac was the better option, so they went with him. And he hasn't been playing too bad. He had, we talked about it, the Saints game was a little rough. And other than that, he's been pretty accurate and thrown the ball pretty well.
Absolutely, yeah. And the last thing, I left out passing yards. That's because Mac's been averaging 253, and Brady's been averaged 205 for his first 4. But there is a big asterisk there because that's kind of just a product of the game. There's way more passing now. Mac's thrown it 40 more times, so 10 more a game through the first 4 weeks compared to Brady. If you evened it out and made it so they had roughly this similar, Mac would throw for about 220, so about 15 more than Brady instead of... So still a little bit more, which I think is impressive. It speaks to how important and how big of an aspect Mac's accuracy is. It really is his strength.
And just to be clear, we're not comparing them in terms of greatness or anything. We're just off the first 4 games, and I like that. All right, so next week?
We got to do defense real quick. I got a little bit on the Patriots defense because I thought they played a really good game.
Yeah, they did, actually.
I said good originally, not great. I would even update that to very good, not great. Brady did look a little foldy, but they made all the timely plays. More importantly, they forced him to settle for 4 field goals.
Absolutely.
That's the big thing.
I think, I completely agree with that. and they played really well in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. The defense, the rush defense got exposed.
Yes.
With Fournette, I think he rushed for 91,
Mm-hmm.
averaged 4.6 on 20 carries. And then Ronald Jones also had 6 carries for 25. So, rush defense still some question marks.
I agree. I definitely, you couldn't not notice Fournette, but I also wanted to say, like, if you're facing a roster that has Tom Brady, Mike Evans, AB, Chris Godwin, and the guy that hurts you the most is Leonard Fournette,
yeah.
I'm not going to say it's ever good. It's never good. But they did eliminate the biggest threats of the Bucs, which is Brady, Evans, AB.
Yeah.
Those guys. They really did take them mostly out of the game. There was some faulty play, like we said, from Brown dropped a touchdown in the end zone.
Yeah.
Brady was off on a lot of throws, uncharacteristically.
Yeah.
But when it was time to step up and make plays against them, they did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it should have been enough to win the game. And I also said their left tackle, it's his second year now, holding Matt Judon the entire game right across the neck. They got it once, and then I think they got him for a hands to the face too.
Yep.
Matt Judon
I've
is
seen
a
that
force.
plenty of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Matt Judon is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
He's the best player on our defense. I don't even know how particularly close it is, especially...
J.C. Jackson, I think, is on his ass there, but...
Fair enough. We got to talk about this now.
Oh, I know. Wait. I was going to say wait till next week for that.
Okay, yeah, we will. We'll wait for
right.
that. I have a few bullet points for the end of this game. I can't be that upset, and I did want to highlight this because we talked about it earlier. They showed a graphic. I believe this is the right number. If not, it's close. 13 new starters.
Yeah, that is. I had no idea.
Yeah, that's the most we've had since 2001, which that was Tom's first year.
Mm-hmm.
We went on and won the Super Bowl. But to say we come in here every week and we're like, oh, they look a little dysfunctional, a lot of penalties, they're not really meshing. They're still building something. And then we got to realize, too, everybody here, Bourne, Aguilar, Jonnu, all these people have been signed to like 3-4 year deals.
Yeah.
They're building something here that they just went toe-to-toe with a Super Bowl defending team.
And a top, probably 3 team in the league.
Yeah, exactly. So they really did step up. No one gave them any chance going in, and it was 60 minutes of super competitive football.
Yep. I do just want to touch up on the offense real quick one more time. I know last week we were talking about tight ends. Finally, they get them going pretty early.
Yes, they did.
Henry with 4 catches, 32 yards, and a touchdown. And then Jonnu Smith, a little questionable on the yards here, but 3 catches for 14 yards, 1 touchdown.
Yep.
What I liked about that is both touchdown plays were targeted specifically for the tight ends, which I really like.
Fits into exactly what we were saying. We knew the red zone efficiency was one of the biggest hiccups, and we've been saying all year that the tight ends need to step up.
And then one more thing I just wanted to touch on was I said Kendrick Bourne needs to get more involved.
He did.
They got involved. 5 catches for 58 yards, averaged 11.6.
I think he's such a heady player that he needs to understand the offense he's in, and it's going to take time. And I think he is understanding it. The more and more he understands things and where to sit in zones and get comfortable with Mac, I think he's a guy that's going to really blossom more than Aguilar, I personally think.
Agree, yeah.
And last thing I had was on the O-line, which is a complete defect at this point. I don't even know how you fix it. By the way, Michael Wenu and Isaiah Wynn both put on the COVID list. We'll touch on that once we get into next week. But I still... these are the exact same names that people were saying was going to be the powerhouse of this team. So, I don't know if it's a coach. Obviously, Dante Scarnecchia was the O-line coach for a long time. Retired for a bit, then came back and brought a bunch of life back in. I know he's 73 or something.
We need him back, or
you might need to give him a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it has to be coaching because, like I said, all the names on that line are proven starters in the league. They make plays. So I really don't know. They've been playing good front sevens, but not this good.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess that wraps up this week. Bucs versus Patriots. We're going to hop into next week. All right, so before we go into this week's pregame analysis of the Texans versus the Patriots, did want to touch on a few more stats. I did look up right now at 1-3. you have a 12% chance to make the playoffs, which obviously not good.
Yeah.
If you do win next week, though, it's 21%. Still not great by any means. But if we're able to string together 2 wins here against, it's going to be Houston and Dallas in Gillette, which that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It goes up to 58. So it's more than likely.
Yeah. You can only, assume that the Jets and the Miami, especially with Tua out, they're not going to be playing very well. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, hopefully you can get some wins there, definitely. Yeah. I know you had a few things to touch on, too.
Yep, so just the biggest news in the NFL now today came out early this morning. Patriots released Defensive Player of the Year, the once Defensive Player of the Year, Stefan Gilmour. And, the reason behind it was to free up cap space. Mm-hmm. The question I had, and you had, why do we not trade him?
Yeah, obviously that's what it has to be. There's got to be some kind of thing that we're not fully grasping in terms of money that they're not having to pay by releasing
like a penalty
him.
Type.
Yeah, but
when you trade him,
I couldn't imagine. You're telling me the Bucs, who we just played, whose secondary looks like that looks, they're not going to give you at least a second-round pick for Stefan Gilmour?
Oh, I know.
That this is a team that's already all in. Their quarterback's 44.
Yep.
They're not going to pick up a Defensive Player of the Year at corner. They're weakest. Yeah. Of course they are. You could probably
get the Packers
first.
are another team that are really looking for a defensive stud.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be tough. It would have been tough with the expiring contract, but I can't imagine anything's better than letting a guy with that much talent
he's still
walk out for free.
Even with this injury, he's still probably a top 10, top 5 corner in the league. So.
Yeah, and if you're not going to trade him, then be an asshole and guess what? You're playing for us the rest of this year. Because we're a decent team too, and we need some secondary. We can never have enough corners.
Yeah, I don't really understand it, but all right. So moving on, Pats are also looking to bring Jamie Collins back.
I love it,
which I really like.
I love it. You're gonna get him cheap too.
Yeah, Lions, released him. He's got a great relationship with the Pats, and hopefully we can, work a deal out so he can come back. This just in I saw too was the Texans releasing their wide receiver Anthony Miller, who has looked pretty good.
Interesting.
Throughout the last 2 games, I think he came in against Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
He played pretty well against Carolina, and many people believe that the Pats want to take a shot on him. Mm-hmm. If you can get him for cheap, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Same thing with corners. I think same thing with receivers. You can never have enough receivers, especially if...
I'd agree there.
Especially if you think he's a young talent, why not? Give it a shot.
Take a shot on him. If not, he gives you good looks in practice. He's going to get...
And then just one more news around the NFL is Cowboys released Jalen Smith, linebacker.
Really?
That'd be a hard signing for the Pats because he's probably looking for some money, but not impossible. Wouldn't hurt to give it a shot. But
yeah, and before we get into Houston, I did want to say too, I guess it is part of Houston, Mike Owenu and Isaiah Wynn both placed on the COVID list. So that's your left guard and your left tackle. Last thing I heard, it was probably going to be Ted Karras and Rodney Kajust out there. So good thing you're playing the Texans.
Yeah.
We'll see. But anyways, to get into this week, Patriots got the Houston Texans traveling to Houston to play that game. And straight up, this is just a bad football team. And it is also a must-win for the Patriots. So.
It is, definitely.
So just to run through the first 4 weeks for Houston, they beat Jacksonville week 1. Jacksonville has looked like a bucket of trash.
Yeah, and Urban Meyer.
Yeah, oh man, yeah.
So,
what a story.
Yeah.
But this was also with Tyrod Taylor too, who they signed to be their starter for the entire season. He gets knocked out in the second game.
He looked incredible.
Yeah, he looked awesome. He looked really, really good. That even inflates. They have the 30 ranked offense, and that's with that first great week from Taylor.
Yeah,
and it's still not good. Week 2, they lost 31-21 to the Browns. More importantly, they lost Taylor in that game, and Davis Mills came in, rookie. Then they lost 24-9 to the Panthers.
Yep.
And then last week, 40-0
against the Bills.
To the Bills.
Yep.
So, yeah, not a great start. Not a great start for them.
Yeah, so, just touch on that. Obviously, Tyrod was balling out. Probably could be a little bit of a different story if Tyrod was there. Mm-hmm. I still think we'd win, but you got to feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Dude, everywhere he's been, he's just the first couple weeks he just gets hurt.
Nothing was worse than the Chargers. Yeah. They stabbed him.
Oh my god.
In the lung.
I feel so bad for that guy.
I mean, it needed to happen to unleash Herbert on the league.
Yeah, you just got to feel sympathy for this guy.
Absolutely. Everywhere he's gone.
Really, the only thing offensively for the Texans I'm really worried about, and it's not even that big of a worry for me, is Brandon Cooks. Mm-hmm. But looking at the quarterback play, you can't be too worried if the quarterback can't get him the ball.
Exactly, yeah. We'll get into Davis Mills soon. But on Cooks, the more and more I do think about it, I'm not... Again, he is the biggest threat, without a doubt. But I wouldn't even say worried about it. This is a guy who was on our team. They played McCourty, J.C. Jackson. These guys played him every week. J.C. Jackson. Was J.C. here? Maybe not. Yeah, it might have been the year after. So. But either way, McCourty, he leads that secondary. He played against him for a whole season in practice.
Yep.
I think even if they don't limit him, you're not going to lose this game to Brandon Cooks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would have to be a combination of things, and I don't know if they can really put a combination of things together.
And looking at the stats here last week against the Bills, they were down that whole game, obviously.
They
didn't score.
40-0, yeah.
They threw the ball 21 times, and they only completed it 11.
Wow.
And if you're down that much, I mean, looking here, the score throughout the first, two was 16-0 the first half. So, I mean, you still can rely on a rush game. But when you're down by that much and you throw the ball 21 times, complete it for 11 times.
That's no confidence in the quarterback at all.
And then get 87 yards. Like, really? And then 4 picks on top of that. He averaged 4.1 yards per completion.
Yeah, that's one of the other stats. I have some stats on him too. It's ugly.
And then looking at their rush game, it's steady. It's nothing great at all. Last week they had 18 rushes for 48 yards.
Mm-hmm. We said with Tyrod, you got to feel bad about him. You got to feel bad for Davis Mills too. This guy wasn't supposed to start at all. Yeah. This was a guy. He was a development guy from the beginning on draft night.
And I actually thought, looking at his game against Carolina, he played pretty well.
Yeah, I didn't even think coming out he was an awful guy. I thought he was one of the people, if the Patriots elected to go with a different position for the first round pick. Late. Yeah, I was looking at Davis Mills as a potential guy.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's awful. He's just way in over his head on a team that can't support him at all. Their offense is ranked 30 in the whole league. Defense is ranked 28. The defense lets up 29 points a game. Which is not good at all. The offense only scores 17. They let up over 400 yards a game on defense. Oof. And they barely get any yards offensively. They average 276, which is pretty sure Mac has thrown for that alone twice already. And that's their entire offensive production.
And I'm just looking here now. Mm-hmm. So Davis Mills overall has had 2 touchdowns so far.
5 picks.
And 5 picks. But if we look at the score, he has scored the ball, 7, so 14. We're looking at 17 points out of Davis Mills in 2.5 games.
That ain't good.
And Tyrod put up some points.
Even 17, so you really how 17? Wouldn't that only be 12?
Well, he came in and he got a touchdown against the Browns.
No, he only has 2 touchdown passes all year.
Yeah, and he only got 1 against the Panthers.
Yeah, so that's 12 points, not 17.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it's only 6 and 6, right? It should be.
You're right.
Unless I'm missing something.
I'm just throwing up the extra points there, too. But
yeah,
at the same time, their offense is looking very bad.
Yeah, so let's run through some Davis Mills stats. 38 for 67, 56% passing. 119 yards a game, not even 120. 2 touchdowns to 5 picks. Talk about a ratio. 5.3 average.
Oh, my God.
This is huge. Mac, you hear it every single day about how much Mac Jones doesn't push it down the field, doesn't get yards. This is a whole yard below Mac's average. Like,
yeah,
it ain't pretty. He's been sacked 8 times for 50 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the line's not protecting him. And then this is the king stat of all. 50.4 passer rating. That's the worst out of any QB in the league with over 100 passing yards. There's 37 dudes that have done that this year. He's 37th. I don't know. If you're a betting man, put money on at least a sack or two and at least a pick or two. Like, these are almost guarantees in this game. It is a rookie. Bill's going to be flooding this guy.
Especially with the secondary playing as well as it is right now.
Exactly. I think I'd be extremely surprised if we come in here next week and Davis Mills didn't throw at least one pick.
Yeah, I would too.
All right, but that's pretty much... I don't have too much on their defense beside the basic stats, but mostly because this is just an extremely winnable game for the Patriots.
Yeah, it is.
You got to win it.
It's pretty much throwing it in there like the Jets.
Yes, yeah. It really is. It should be a given. And now the stakes are even higher. You just lost 2 games. If you lose this, it's not only is your season basically statistically over, it just speaks to your team. And if you're losing to them, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got any final predictions for this game?
Yeah, I'm just 31-7.
31-7. Nice. Okay. That's a little more than me. I got 26-10, I think.
They shouldn't score more than 10 points.
No, I don't think so either. They really should not. It's a good defense. You're bringing Collins back, who assumedly should just fit right back. He might not play this week because he is going to come in pretty late. But, I mean, we just saw Richard Sherman go and play in a system that he's never, ever played.
And, I mean, it's not like Collins just wasn't playing this year. He just got released, so
exactly.
Pick him up, and he knows this system.
Mm-hmm. I think you could definitely see him in rotation this week. Definitely next week, obviously.
Yeah.
If you don't. But,
yeah. I mean, defense should have a field day. Offense should have a field day.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the basic point.
This could be a coming out party, I think, for Mac and this offense.
I think it should be a coming out party for Damian Harris again.
Yes.
Because they need to reestablish the rush game. Mm-hmm. And I think this is the perfect place to do it.
Yep, this is the weakest front 7 you've played, I would say...
all year.
I would say even weaker than the Jets.
The Jets honestly don't have a terrible front 7.
Yeah, exactly.
Front defensive line.
Yeah, so you've played some good front 7s, some really good front 7s. So this is the time to do it.
Exactly. So Harris, I think he's got to get 100 yards plus.
Yeah, I agree. He hasn't done it. What did he do the first game? Did he have over
Miami?
100?
Yeah, he got 100, I think, even.
100, okay, yep.
So, I mean, other than that, he has not done much.
He should, and this front 7 is nothing compared to Miami's.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of coaching.
Yeah.
So, all right, I got the Pats winning 26-10. What'd you have, Matt?
31-7.
31-7. All right, so those are our predictions. Thanks so much for tuning in this episode, guys. Catch us next week where we will break down this game and we will talk about Patriots versus Cowboys. So thanks again so much. Go Pats.
Go Patriots.